Real news channel footage. We're counting down the top 10 fast fashion brands and retailers recently exposed for toxic chemicals in their clothing. From hidden irritants that spark skin reactions, to shocking findings of heavy metals and plasticizers found hundreds of times above safety limits. This ranking reveals the real dangers behind budget style and the few brands that are setting a safer standard for your wardrobe. Let's begin with number 10. At number 10, Zaful. The name will be familiar to anyone who has browsed for bargain swimwear or faux leather online. Critics and watchdogs have flagged Zaful for its lack of transparency about what actually goes into its products. While there are no public lab results proving high formaldehyde in Zaful's swimwear, the brand's heavy reliance on low-cost synthetics and chemical finishes puts it in the crosshairs of industry-wide concerns. Formaldehyde is a chemical used to keep fabrics wrinkle-free and fresh-looking. It is a known skin irritant and has been linked to allergic reactions and, at high exposures, to cancer. Dermatologists have documented cases of contact dermatitis from clothing finished with formaldehyde, especially in budget swimwear and faux leather. Regulatory agencies in Europe and Asia have set strict limits on formaldehyde in textiles, but brands like Zaful offer little information about their chemical controls, leaving shoppers to guess what is really touching their skin. AliExpress has become a go-to source for parents searching for affordable kids' clothes and accessories, but recent investigations reveal serious dangers hiding in those bargain finds. In Seoul, city officials tested 35 children's items bought from AliExpress and Temu, including raincoats, umbrellas, and boots. More than 30% failed safety checks. Some products contained phthalates at over 400 times the legal limit, and lead levels reached nearly 28 times above what is allowed for children's goods. One raincoat showed formaldehyde concentrations more than 30 times the safe threshold. Alongside chemical threats, testers found physical hazards like sharp edges and cords that could cause injury or strangulation. European industry groups have flagged similar risks. 96% of tested toys from sellers outside the European Union, including AliExpress, broke safety rules. These numbers point to a clear pattern. Anonymous sellers and imported goods from online marketplaces can expose children to chemicals and dangers far beyond what most parents expect. At number 8 is Zara, a giant in the fast fashion world and a familiar face in shopping malls across the globe. While the brand claims to follow strict chemical safety standards, independent consumer tests in the European Union have detected traces of hazardous dye byproducts in fast fashion garments, products similar to those found on Zara's racks. The concern centers on certain azo dyes, which can break down into aromatic amines, some of which are classified as carcinogens. European Union law sets a strict threshold. If a textile releases more than 30 milligrams per kilogram of these banned amines, it cannot be sold. Wastewater studies in major textile hubs have linked the use of these dyes to water pollution, with dangerous residues washing into rivers near factories. Although direct evidence against Zara is limited, the company's vast supply chain operates in regions where oversight can falter, raising questions about what lingers in the fibers of fast fashion clothing. H&M has spent years promoting its commitment to safer clothing, but independent audits continue to find gaps between the company's promises and what actually happens in its supply chain. Reports from Greenpeace and other watchdogs have repeatedly flagged the presence of nonylphenol ethoxylates, called NPE, in wastewater from factories producing H&M garments. These surfactants help dyes and finishes bond to fabric, but when released into water systems, they break down into toxic, hormone-disrupting chemicals. H&M pledged to eliminate hazardous substances by 2020. Yet follow-up investigations show NPE still turning up in supplier discharge, especially in countries with weak enforcement. While the company touts its detox progress, the reality is more complicated. Phased rollouts and incomplete supplier oversight mean that NPE contamination remains a risk. For shoppers, the gap between public greenwashing and persistent chemical pollution raises hard questions about whether big brands can be trusted to police themselves. Forever 21, a staple in malls and online carts, has faced legal fire for a staggering lapse in product safety. Independent tests commissioned by an environmental health nonprofit revealed a Forever 21 handbag with lead content 137 times the legal limit. This is not a minor technicality. Lead is a potent neurotoxin, especially dangerous for children and pregnant women. Even brief skin contact with lead-laced metal trims can allow the metal to transfer, raising the risk of developmental delays, nervous system damage, and fertility problems. The findings led to lawsuits and calls for recalls, and forced a spotlight onto the brand's accessory supply chain. While Forever 21's clothing lines have not faced the same documented violations, this single accessory case stands out for its extreme magnitude, showing how a single cheap trim can carry risks far beyond what any shopper expects. Temu, the online shopping giant, lands at number 5 for a reason that goes beyond a single bad batch or isolated recall. Municipal spot checks and non-governmental organization campaigns have flagged a staggering 32% of Temu's sampled garments as exceeding legal safety limits for toxic chemicals. That means nearly 1 in 3 items tested failed to meet basic standards for consumer safety. These findings come from independent testing in cities like Seoul, where inspectors purchased clothing directly from the platform and found repeated violations, ranging from phthalates in children's wear to heavy metals in printed t-shirts and accessories. Unlike a single contaminated handbag or toy, this failure rate points to a deeper problem: a lack of effective quality control across a vast and ever-changing inventory. On Temu, the risk isn't just about one dangerous item slipping through. It's about systemic gaps that can leave entire categories of clothing unchecked and unsafe. Shein, the ultra-fast fashion powerhouse, lands at number 4 for a staggering violation that set a new benchmark for chemical risk. Independent lab testing commissioned by a leading consumer non-governmental organization found a faux leather children's jacket sold by Shein containing phthalate plasticizers at 428 times the legal limit. Phthalates are used to soften plastics, but they do not stay locked in the material. Over time, they migrate to the surface and can be absorbed through the skin or inhaled as dust. Scientists link chronic phthalate exposure to hormone disruption, developmental problems, and an increased risk of cancer, especially in children, who are more vulnerable to chemical absorption. Regulators worldwide set strict caps on phthalate levels in children's clothing and accessories, but Shein's single test result was so extreme it dwarfed others in the category. For shoppers, this raises an urgent question. What else might be lurking in the bargain bin when safety controls break down at this scale? Packed apparel stands out for shoppers looking to avoid the chemical roulette of fast fashion. Every basic tee, legging, and hoodie from Packed is made with organic cotton certified by the Global Organic Textile Standard, spelled GOTS. This is not just a marketing label. GOTS certification means the cotton must be grown without toxic pesticides, and the entire manufacturing process is audited to restrict hazardous chemicals from dye to finish. Factories are inspected for fair labor as well as chemical safety, and every shipment is traceable back to its source. While Pact does not claim the broadest transparency in the industry, its commitment to organic materials and third-party certification puts real distance between its clothes and the hazardous shortcuts common in fast fashion. For anyone tired of playing guessing games with ingredient lists, Pact's GOTS certified basics offer a safer, more reliable choice. Peopletree earns its spot near the top, showing that fashion can be both ethical and safe. Every piece begins with fair trade partnerships, connecting directly with artisans and farmers who are paid living wages and who work in safe conditions. Instead of relying on harsh chemical dyes, Peopletree uses low-impact and natural dye processes, reducing the risk of toxic residues on finished clothes. The brand is open about its supply chain, publishing detailed information about its suppliers and the steps taken to minimize chemical use from farm to final product. This commitment goes beyond the fabric itself. Peopletree's dyeing methods avoid hazardous substances that can leach into waterways or linger on the skin. For shoppers, this means clothing that supports worker rights and offers peace of mind about what touches their body. It is proof that style and safety do not have to be at odds. Organic Basics stands apart for shoppers who want certainty about what touches their skin. The company publishes a full list of its factories, making it easy to trace each garment back to its source. Every fabric used by Organic Basics is tested and certified by OECO-TEX, a strict third-party standard that screens for hundreds of harmful substances. Instead of chasing trends, the brand designs clothing to last, emphasizing durability as much as safety. This approach means fewer replacements, less waste, and less exposure to chemical residues over time. By sharing detailed supply chain information and relying on independent lab testing, Organic Basics sets a high bar for transparency and consumer trust. For anyone seeking a reliable, low-tox choice, this is the brand that combines safety, openness, and long-lasting quality. Across all 10 brands, one pattern stands out. Toxic chemicals are not rare mistakes. They are built into the fast fashion system. Health and ethics collide in every purchase. The real risk is invisible, but real alternatives exist. What we wear today shapes the world, and it shapes our well-being tomorrow.